Now, I don't know about you, but after a long day, I often need some downtime. Now, one of the ways that I will get refreshed, so to speak, is to get the kids to bed. Now, my kids are getting older, and like their father, because they're getting older, they think they get to stay up late. But once I finally get them to bed, I will often sit down in my lazy boy recliner and pull up a movie, such as on Netflix. Now, I don't know how you look up different movies that you're going to watch. Maybe it's the most popular for the day or the new release. But often I will go to the different categories, so action or comedy or thriller, and I will go through the different movies that are listed and then pick the one that I'm kind of in the mood for and maybe looks the best. Now, these categories are helpful because they give a certain expectation of what the movie is going to be about. Now, if I picked a comedy, and then all of a sudden there's all this action and it's this kind of mystery, I'll be very confused. Or if maybe I pick a movie that's supposed to be very suspenseful, and then the first 10 minutes is all this joking and things like this, I mean, what did I just pick? So these categories lay out this expectation of what the movie is going to be like. It provides context, a setting. Well, in the same way, the book of Psalms has different categories of Psalms. And these categories are helpful because it gives us an expectation of what we are reading. Now, I will state this, it's not clear cut exactly in the way that it's just this particular category or that. There's often a mixture, just like a movie. It may be an action movie or a thriller, but there's comedy and different things like that. So what I want to do in our video as we continue to work our way through the book of Psalms is provide the 7 basic categories of Psalms. All right, so here we go. Number 1, wisdom Psalms. Now, there's not a lot of these. There's only about 3, but we see this in Psalm 1, for example. We see this in Psalm 37. And what these Psalms do is really give us these guidelines, this practical instruction on how we are to live a godly and righteous life. All right, number 2, royal Psalms. This is speaking of the coming Messiah. Now, we know this to be Jesus, and so Jesus wasn't specifically named, but these Psalms are talking about the Messiah, the one that comes from David's line who will rule on earth. Okay, so these are often, again, called royal Psalms, but also messianic Psalms. Number 3, we see Psalms of Lament. So this is where the psalmist, the author of the psalm, is really crying out to the Lord. And we'll see these questions such as, how long, O Lord? Or, O Lord, do not hide your face from me. And so the psalmist is in great distress and anguish and pain, and they're crying out to God to hear them. Number 4, imprecatory Psalms. Now, these are pretty shocking Psalms, really, given the language that we find. And so what we see with these Psalms is that the author is again crying out to the Lord, but he's crying out to the Lord, really asking that God bring judgment and wrath on his enemies. And then again, this is shocking, and how do we make sense of this given what we see from Jesus, how we're supposed to pray for our enemies? Well, what we're going to do in the coming videos is we're going to look at Psalms of Lament and these imprecatory Psalms in more detail. But I just, again, want to kind of highlight the main category. Well, moving on, we see number 5, Psalms of Thanksgiving. Now, that's pretty straightforward. This is just where the psalmist is thanking the Lord for how the Lord has worked in the life personally, but also in the nation of Israel. Number 6, we see the pilgrimage Psalms. So as we have read in the past, over a couple months ago, the Israelites had all these different festivals, okay, and they would flow to the city of Jerusalem for these festivals. And what these Psalms do is they celebrate who God is. And so it's this picture really of the people flowing to Jerusalem or flowing to the city of Zion, and they are celebrating the Lord. They are getting very excited for these festivals. And then number 7, we see Psalms of Enthronement. And so what these are really these Psalms of great awe for who the Lord is. That the Lord is the ruler of the universe. That he sustains the universe. That he is in complete control. And so we read these Psalms and we just see the majesty of God, and we're really left in awe of who he is and what he does in our world. All right, well, that's the 7 basic categories, and I hope that's a help for you as we continue to work our way through this great book. But also my hope is that as we finish the book of Psalms here in a few weeks, is that we will constantly go back to this book. Again, it speaks to so much the situations that we find of life. And so I hope that really you visit this book over and over again, even this year and in the years to come. And as you know these different categories, I think it will give you great expectation and a context to reading them and how you can apply it to your own life.